Good morning, and welcome to our webinar this morning, What's New in Sage Estimating? Glad you're here. Thank you for coming. My name is Judd Ewell. I'm a field sales engineer with Sage, and it's my pleasure to share some stuff with you today about Sage Estimating. So, as we, just some quick housekeeping items here. You are muted for a clean listening experience for all attendees, so I can't hear you. If you do have any questions, there is a questions chat box in your control panel for GoToMeeting. If you could enter those in there, I'll do my best to answer the questions either during the presentation or at the end. And finally, maximize your screen so that you can see all the details that we're going to be talking about today. So today we are going to review key features in version 18.11, version 18.12 of Sage Estimating. We're going to look at unit conversion and move copy and alternates and what's coming, as well as ribbon bar changes, improved spreadsheet layouts, and improved sort sequences. And then I will have a quick lesson on how to organize things in PowerPoint so they come up in the right order. But so that's what we're going to look at today. Lots of features there. So let's get started. Quick introduction there. Do this. And so here we have Sage Estimating. This is version 18.12. If you've been on Pervasive, it's going to look a little different. It's going to obviously work a little different because we have been doing a fair bit of work the past few years on Sage Estimating. And if you've been in part of my one of my demos or presentations that I do, you know that the development on Pervasive version of Sage Estimating is not going forward. We are concentrating only on SQL, and so that's what you see here. So in version 18.11, which was out well over a year ago, we got four main features. One is the ribbon bar across the top. We've got the improved spreadsheet layouts here. We'll spend a fair bit of time with the spreadsheet display here. The older versions where the layout was specific to the sequence tab, but not anymore. We've got improved sort sequences and item sequences and unit conversion we'll look at. And so here on the ribbon bar, you'll notice that the groupings have changed, and hopefully, and they're more intuitive. That's kind of what they were going for, and I kind of agree with that. But over here on the Home tab, we've got this we've got the editing over here. This used to be all right-click. Now it's now you can do this move copy or just values from the ribbon bar. We've got the spreadsheet display grouped over here together as well over here, and we'll spend, like I said, we'll spend some time in there. We've got the spreadsheet actions, the collapse and expand and things there. So those are all together. Items in bid grids here. The clipboard has been updated to Microsoft standards. And then we've got the tools over here. Over here, so a few changes here, but mainly it's the grouping of things and the spreadsheet display here. The estimate views here, the totals, the information, settings, and details you're all familiar with. If you, you know, we'll get into those as we go along here. So just a brief overview here. First, Takeoff, nothing really has changed here in Takeoff. Mainly it's the icons. And so they needed to change the icons. So we have different icons for item assembly model, quick and one-time item takeoff. The repricing, we've got some options, the same options here. And then this, the save as assembly if we were doing that here. So in reports, nothing much has changed in reports. The data, we've got, excuse me, the elements over here on the left are parts of your database. Obviously, if you've used Sage Estimating, you know about these, the phases, items, assemblies, and models. And then the sort and tables. And so we've got those. As we get here to the codes, we've got some new stuff that we can show you in there a little bit. So if we were to go to really any one of these, but let's go to locations, you can now import and export these. And so you can export, what I would do is export these to Excel, make your changes and import them back in, or you can even export a blank one out. But what it does is it allows you to really input that information real quickly and easily. And also in some of these areas, it would allow you to be consistent across your all your estimators to be consistent as they're using the same data from the same Excel spreadsheet. So you can use that. We'll look at that a little bit later here as we look at alternates. Crews, of course, haven't changed. Units, we've got a little change here in units. Again, we can import and export, but we also have conversions here, and we can convert here from metric to imperial. And again, we'll look at that as we get into details more later on. We've got the, let's see here. All right, so we've got that. Here at the Advanced tab, we've got alternates, and I will show you alternates here as we go along toward the end of our time today. So, fair bit of things to show you here. Back to the home button, we're going to look at layouts, and so looking at layouts and sequences. Right now, the layouts are columns and sequences are rows. So if I create my layouts, I can change all the columns, and you know this. And sequences are how I'm going to group it. And I can talk sometimes. And so here's sequences, and I've got these sequences down on the bottom down here. We'll talk about those in just a second. But what I can do with these layouts is they are, in the older versions, they were tied to a particular sequence. So if I wanted to have a labor productivity for phase item, I could do that. If I wanted to have the labor productivity layout for the same labor productivity by assembly, I had to recreate it. Now I don't. The sequences and the layouts are not tied together, and so they are independent, and that's pretty cool. There's still a couple of things you need to be aware of, but they are not tied together. So I can flip back and forth here from the input to the default to the labor productivity to the materials, and I'm always on this phase item, and I can do the same thing here on the assembly one. Now this may not, we'll see how this works here, but I've got there's the input and the default, and there. So I can start to switch around as I want. Now you notice, you'll see that this is not making a lot of sense because I do need to make sure that my columns that I choose in my layout match what I have in my sequence. So I've got an assembly sequence, and I need to probably have an assembly layout. Okay, so you can have as many different sequences and layouts as you want now. Let's say, for example, that I'm going to go back here to my default layout, and it's kind of narrow here, so I'll make these expand up a little bit. There we go. And let's say that I wanted to add a column. And so what I can, I'll just go to phase up. Let's go there. There we go. All right. So I've got this materials layout with a group phase item sequence. And what I want to do is I want to add a column. And so rather than going into the whole rigmarole of going through all the screens, all I need to do is right click. I'll just right click here and insert, and percent total right there at the top, and I'm good. I'm good to go. Now you'll notice that this has changed. The materials has changed. The materials layout has changed. I can do a couple things. I can save it, and then I would have a new version of the materials layout. I can save as. So I can click this, and I can create a whole nother layout right here. And I can just say this is materials with percent total. Okay, so now I have a new layout created, and I can still come in here, and I can still edit this layout, and I can lock columns, and I can turn columns on and off here. I can change the appearance of columns. I can do all kinds of things here as well. So there's still that flexibility. There's still the power, but it's easier to use, I think, than it used to be when I could just do a lot of this stuff right on the spreadsheet. And you know, I've got this assembly. I just want to show you this one. It might be a little weird, but you can start to do some fun things with this. So one guy said, hey, why don't you color things up, make them colorful? So here's my colored assembly view, assembly layout. And so I've colored my labor columns blue, and the materials are green, and subs are yellow, and equipment's pink, and on down the line. And so does it make a lot of sense? Maybe. It's up to you. If all your sequences were, if all your layouts were such that all the labor was always blue, that might be an easy way to quickly go, where is it? So it might make sense, up to you, but we at least wanted to show you that there are some fun things you can do with color, and you can remove the grid lines and things like that. So those are options as well. Let's go back here to the materials one just because we can. So there we are, back where we started from, like that. Okay, so some options there. Now, just going over my notes here to make sure I catch everything. All right, so now we can import, one quick thing here, if I go to the layout tab, it says import and export. Well, this is different than the import and export that I just showed you on the locations. This is not, oh, I can export this all to Excel and work with it there. This is import and export. I think it's an XML file or something like that, that exports the view or the layout out to a file, and then would allow me to import it back in as a file. So I can, there's another way to share these, but it's not an Excel kind of import export there. All right, so the sequences, that's how we're going to group it. It's these tabs down here at the bottom. We used to have 4 fixed and 4 custom, and now they are unlimited. And you can see also that they are color coded. And so that's one of the things that I kind of like about them, is that you can start to color code them. And why do I care? Nah, it doesn't affect the functionality, obviously, but it does, you know, I can say, well, my assembly ones are all this dark green. My floors are all this bright green, and my locations are all this kind of cyan color. Alternates are red. And down here at the end, I have estimator and job cost. So I can start to group them by color, and I can also group them and you'll also notice that I've got my assemblies grouped together. So what I did to create these is pretty simple. Just go up here to the sequences tab, and I have these here. Let me make that one. There we go. And so I can add one. And I personally prefer to work backwards because I'm a little backwards anyway. And so I'm going to click this ellipsis over here on the right. And I'm just going to say that I want, let's go cost code, job cost phase, and O phase. Let's go like that. Okay, now I can give it a color if I want. Let's just call this yellow. And then I can give it a unique name if I want as well. And we'll just call this Judge JC. Okay, and it's exactly the one, it's the same as the one above, but you see how easy it is to create a sequence? I can also take and highlight this line, and I can move it up the list. So I can group these together. Also, if I want to, once I get these built, I can select all of them that I want. So I can select all of these like this. I can say, save that as my default. Then when I come in and start a new estimate, I'll see all of these sequences already built. So let's click OK. And now over here on the far right, there's our JY. There's our Judd's job cost tab that we just made. If I click on that, there's the phase. There is the phase. And let's go here to, boy, where do we go here? Let's go to totals. Anyway, what I need to get is I need to insert a column for job cost phase. Let's do that one. Now I have my job cost phases here. You see how I had to coordinate the job cost, the sequence, and the layout. So the sequences are pretty darn powerful. You could, I've got mine grouped by different things that I just figured out. You could group them by pre-construction sequences versus QA/QC review sequences, or job cost sequences, or reporting. If you have a particular report that you typically do, like from pre-filled spreadsheet or something like that, that could be a particular color as well. And they all show up on the bottom of the screen here. And so you can do these. You can also, I went up here to the sequences button to show you that. You can also right click down here and you get some real Excel-like functionality with it. I can edit them or rename them or change the color, hide them even. So things you can do right there from the tab as well. So let's see. You can set, okay, we talked about those. All right, so let's look at something else here. One of the things that we can do is we can now convert from imperial to metric. And so I've got this conversion down here, and I want to convert quantities to metric. So I'm going to click OK, and nothing happens. But what I do now is I have a labor productivity layout, and now I've got this view here. And so I see not only takeoff quantity in imperial units, but also in metric units. These columns here, and what I did is I set up this column and I went like this, and I went to the properties tab and I said make them gray. And so I did that just to highlight this, but these are read only. I can't change these, but I can change the other columns here, my standard imperial units. So you can't change the metric, but you can display them right here on the spreadsheet. All right, so they're either on or off. The way it works too is if I go here to the data tab. Remember we had these conversions here, so I can set up these conversions. This is how it knows what to do here, how to convert that. And so I have to set this up. This actually comes with the system pretty much filled out the way you see it. But if I wanted to add one, I could just say that square yards is, and that is meters squared, and the conversion factor is 0.836124. And I'm okay. So now I've created, now if I had a square yard imperial unit, it would convert it to a square meter metric unit. So that's what I did. That's what we can show you there. It's not, I want a quick note is, I did want to tell you that this is not affected by the value of the dollar or the Canadian dollar or anything like that. It's just a straight mathematical conversion. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you there. Let's go here real quickly back to home and back to the settings. Automatics, you'll notice that I don't have any totals here, like on this phase. I want to automatically calculate overline quantities, click OK, and now I get these. And so this is, we have overlines here. You'll notice the site work says 0 and no quantity. What it's doing is it's working off of the unit of measure. So let me go back here, a little less confusing if I go back here, just to materials. We've got cubic yards. So what it's doing is it's taking all of the units that say cubic yard and it's adding them up. So this 1228 plus that one plus this one, this one, this one, and this one, and that's 3275. So that's where it's getting that quantity from. It's using the unit of measure. If I change the unit of measure to a capital CY, for example, it zeroes it out because there's no other capital down, no other capital CY down here. This is all, let's see, this is all this way. But if I wanted to say, well, you know what, I want it based on this one, change that. And now that's what my total is going to be based on. I can change this to 230 and it changes that. So it's based on the unit of measure, and it is case sensitive. So you can start to get these overlying quantities. You'll notice down here the fine grade's based on squares. Well, everything is square foot. If I change this to SF, now I get that. So it's summing up everything in this phase. It's dynamic, so you're not going to have to recalculate, and every time you make a change, that overlying total will display. And, you know, if I collapse this down a little bit, I'm starting to see this kind of a summary here. So I can get that far. And if I'm doing a report, I would have my summaries all ready to go there. So the overlying quantity, overlying totals is something you can work with as well. All right, here on the advanced tab, wanted to go to the alternates. And so I've got some alternates in here. I've got, go here to the summary pane. You can see here's my total. I've got some, starting over here on the right, I've got the base bid, alternate 2 and alternate 1, and then I've got some unassigned here. And that doesn't make a sense because I've got some that aren't assigned to an alternate. So what can I do here? I can go to an alternate. Let's go to alternate assembly here. And we'll just do this. Well, let's go to alternate group base. There we go. And I want to go to let's go to default layout. Nope. See, I need to get this better here. And input. I need to see, let's see, alternates. Where are the alternates? Let's go here to alternates. Okay. All right. So these are the unassigned items in my alternates. I need to get them assigned. I've got two ways that I can do that. I'll take the first part of this and show you real quickly here that I can just take these and hold down my shift key and select them, and I can move them. And where do I want to move them to? I want to move them to the base bid. Click OK, and they are now assigned to the base bid alternate or alternate designation here. I can select these like this. Another way to do it is to select the first one, hold down the shift key, and now I can just drag them and drop them like that. Now my estimate's cleaned up. Everything's either alternate 1, alternate 2, or base bid. If I collapse this down, we can see that everything's nice and neat and ready to go. So back here to the summary of the alternates. Now I don't have that unassigned category here. So what we can do is we can start to play with these. I'm going to show excluded alternates and only alternate. Okay, so we're going to look at that, and let me see what's going on here. I need to see alternates. There we go. All right. What I wanted to show. Okay, I'm a little disorganized here. Let me do this. What I needed to show you is we need to create statuses for these alternates. Do we want to include them in our estimate or not? So I can just click this add button here and I can add an alternate status. Pretty easy to do, not bad, really. But what I wanted to show you here is I can do it using Excel. And so I'm going to export out a blank spreadsheet, and I'm going to enter in those alternate statuses. So close. See, Excel is flashing down here. Here's the spreadsheet that it created. I just need to say accepted and not accepted. Now, do I want to include those in my estimate? Yes or no? Yes and no. Click save. And you can have as many of these as you want. You can have this spreadsheet on your server so that anytime anybody creates an estimate, this is already standardized for your work. I'm going to click save, close this, and now I'm going to import, and Sage automatically knows which spreadsheet to go to, the last, the latest, and greatest here in this case. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to bring them in, close that, and now I have two statuses. Notice that this one is included and this one is not. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to close this and open it back up again. Like this now, then I see the statuses. And so what do I want to do? Well, I want to accept the base bid. That's right. And now you can, now then this one, that one is not accepted. And this one is not accepted. Notice they went away. Now these two numbers match. If I looked at those, I would also here on the totals, everything is matching up nice and clean. And so what I want to do is show, or just to show you what we can do is show excluded alternates. Now I see those here in my alternates worksheet. And if I look at the spreadsheet, I'll see them here as well. Notice that they're yellowed out. This is, I'm showing the excluded alternates. If I said, I like quarry tile today, and I accept that, these clean up, and this goes black. This is red. Okay, so what I really want to stress here is version 18.12 had some improvements to the alternates. This red, not accepted is one of them. The math was actually, is better. And so you really want, if you're using alternates, you really want to upgrade to 18.12 where things are much more dialed in and ready to go and used for you. So please do that. And so you can see our alternates here. You can get fancy and assign add-ons to alternates and that too. So there's lots of things you can do with the alternates. I close this. And so here's my estimate and close this. And if I just say don't show it, then I only have alternate 2 in my base bid. All right. So things we can do with alternates. Also, I wanted to show you here, I've got another estimate. Very, very simple, just some tile flooring. And what I want to do is I want to show you the move and copy here. So if I just drag this down here, I can have both estimates appearing on the screen at the same time. Again, all I did was just drug this. If I'm here, I just took this and just drug it down like this. And now I get this kind of a situation where I can see both estimates on the screen at the same time. And if it's really handy when I have two estimates that I'm trying to compare. And then I can scroll down and scroll one, get the same sequence, get the same order, and I can really compare things here really easily. And so as I scroll back and forth, watch the layout changes. I have input, and over here I have materials. But what I can do is, you saw how I could move stuff within an estimate. I could move the unassigned alternate materials to the base bid. So I can move things around in an estimate. I can copy things in an estimate. I can also take all of these things here, and I can do this, and I can copy them to this estimate. So notice this is a group phase, and 9310.010 is the phase. And so if I scroll down here, 9310.010, there is this. So I can copy things from one estimate to another. I can copy and paste. I can drag and drop. I can select multiple assemblies if I wanted to from from one estimate to another. I can use the move copy window. I can move items within an estimate and no items are created or deleted, just like we did. Or I can move from one WBS code to another, like we did, unassigned to base bid. I can copy between two estimates. I can copy within an estimate, and the existing items are not affected. New items are created at the destination. I can copy between estimates, same as above. I can move within an estimate to a different sort level, and the item levels change. I can copy within an existing estimate to a different sort level. I can copy between estimates, like I showed you here. And the new items in the destination estimate has the same or different levels as the source. What I cannot do is move items or assemblies from one estimate to another. I can only copy. All right, so those are some of the major changes here. Also, on the if I go here to the management console, just real quickly here, the estimating management console. Okay, as this is starting up, let's take a couple questions here. Let's see, Gary, if an alternate is accepted, is it still identifiable within the base bid? Can you reverse from accepted back to pending? Absolutely, yes, Gary. You can play with those alternates all you want. Change them from accepted to unaccepted or not accepted or whatever you want. Is it still identifiable in the base? If an alternate is accepted, yes. So excuse me, I'll slow down. If an alternate is accepted, is it still identifiable within the base bid? Well, it's identifiable on the spreadsheet. Depending on the sequence that you have, you could still identify things as base bid or alternate bids, depending on how you had them sorted and organized on your spreadsheet. But yes, and then you can absolutely play with the alternates, switching back and forth from accepted to unaccepted and back and forth. Notice that now I have unassigned here. That's because of my estimate that I drug over from the tile. Okay, so back here to the estimate management console. One of the things you can do now is you can merge databases. And so there's a merge option down here. You can merge two databases together. You get your, if I did this, now I've got databases over here on the left, and I merged them over, I selected over here on the right, and I can give it a new name, and I can merge them together. So you can merge databases if you want to do that. Let's see, data migration. I can migrate databases, and I can also migrate migrate report layouts. It's under data migration, and let's go into settings here and options, and I can do that. And then when I get here, I don't have any pervasive databases, but when you got to this point, you could select the folder that contains your estimating pervasive layouts and move them. All right, so just a quick couple things there in the estimate management console. When you are, we can now create, if you've used the older versions of SQL, it was a little tough sometimes to create variables and formulas on the fly. So now if I go here to formulas, and I can create a variable here. So it's much more like the pervasive, where you can just create what you need as you're creating a formula or a variable there. And let's see. All right, so quick mention of, let's see here. So quick mention, eTakeoff as well. There's a lot of cool changes coming to eTakeoff. That's our integrated takeoff tool. We've got some fun stuff coming out right in the next week or two with Bridge that will allow you to create estimates very easily from your takeoff if you're just starting out. Really nice there. There's some other features that really help with the takeoff as well. And so there's some fun things coming there. Let's go back here to this PowerPoint and continue here from the current slide. And so Going forward, what's coming? These are some of the things that we are looking at in the future. 1911 will be the next release. When exactly it's coming out, I'm not sure. Summer sometime is what I hear. And then there will, I believe they are planning a 1912 as well. One of the things they're looking at is spreadsheet items sort or filter. So if you wanted to say filter your materials by the most expensive stuff, or filter by particular subs or things like that, you can start to do that and sort and filter your spreadsheet, similar to what you can do in Excel. There is buyout coming. They're working on it now. And again, I've heard rumors, but don't know exactly when it's coming out. But it is coming, and it supposedly is looking pretty cool. Proposal generator is also on the list, so you can generate a proposal from within Sage Estimating. Expanded WBS capabilities, including the ability to nest WBS codes one inside another. Alternate price and productivity is coming, so you can have multiple prices and productivity rates on an item. Multiple currency is also in the works. Manage more features to manage your spreadsheet sequences, and also address book integration as well. So some of the things that are coming in the next releases of Sage Estimating. And so going forward, what do you do now? Just through the end of the month, actually through Friday. If you've been off plan for a while, we'll give you there's a 25% discount when purchasing estimate licenses. That's if you've been off plan for more than 3 years. If you're a new client, we'll give you some special financing when bundling. If you wanted to purchase Core or Core Plus additional licenses, we'll give you a bundle pricing. So Sage Estimating Core with eTakeoff Dimension and Bridge for $44.95, and eTakeoff Core Plus with eTakeoff Dimension and Takeoff and Bridge for $64.95. The difference between those, of course, is Sage Estimating Core Plus has models, crews, and advanced reporting, whereas Core does not. Also, there's some training that you can save on $100 off some learning types, anytime learning subscriptions, including the database or estimating fundamentals. Finally, we have a Sage Sessions coming up here in Portland in about a month, and it's a couple days of some really interesting looking sessions. It is, just a quick note, is it's not intended as training. That's more for TUG, Timberline User Group, where you get some real nice detailed training. This is more high level, what you want to, so higher level, more strategic kinds of things, but still very interesting and very good to hear. So if you're interested, please go to, drop me a line and I can get you to the information for that. And it's a good time to come out to Portland in the spring anyway. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it very much. It's been good talking to you this morning. If you do have any questions, there's my contact information, judd.ewell@sage.com. There's my phone number as well. I'm glad to talk to you about anything here. And so, so thank you for your time. I think I answered the one question that we had from Gary. So appreciate that, and look forward to talking to you in the future. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for coming. Bye.